All right, how's it going, everybody? I have a very happy man right now, coming off a win less than 24 hours ago on Dana White Contender Series. We share some things in common. We both call the great state of Texas home. We both, well, you have a mustache, and I'm trying to grow a mustache, so
There you go. You got one coming in.
I'm trying, man. I could definitely use some tips from you.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I just wanted to chat with you, Mr. Joseph Holmes, in the building. Coming off again, it was like 22 hours ago that you fought Shante Davis on Dana White Contender Series. How are you feeling like now, and how are you feeling, like before and obviously during the fight?
To get this opportunity was insane. I got it on a 13-day notice. And then immediately, for me, it was just like surreal. Like, kind of took me a while to really not necessarily believe, but just like to really be like, oh, this fight's actually going through. Like you could, sign a paper for a fight and all this stuff, but at any point it could just fall out. So I kind of had that feeling before the fight actually happened, like, man, there's no way this is actually going to happen. No way I'm actually going to be on the Contender Series. So it was very surreal for me. Extremely humbling to get to see all of the support that I had that I didn't realize that I had. And then just going into the fight, getting to see people like DC and Dana White. I got to meet Mick Maynard for the first time, and Sean Shelby for the first time. So it's really cool, man. It's a dream come true. I say that.
Yeah, I bet. So like when you get something on 13 days notice like that, I guess like what's the most challenging part for you? Like, is it making the weight? Is it scouting the opponent? Is it just like the logistics of, oh shoot, I got to be in, Las Vegas in 13 days? Like what was the most challenging, piece of leading up to this fight?
I would say the most challenging thing for this fight in particular would have been the weight, just because I got the fight on a 13-day notice, and I was in Kansas City at the time. And I had just finished my last training session with Kraus before I came back to Texas. So immediately I tell Kraus, obviously, like, whatever, I got this fight opportunity. First thing he says to me is, oh, well, I need you. How soon can you come back? And I'm like, because that's 8 hours for me driving, and then about an hour and a half flight or whatever. But I normally drive so I can have a vehicle to get to training. So talk to my girl. And we ended up turning around and going back like the following Monday or something like that. I think we went Sunday night. Yeah, my girl drove me out there late Sunday night, and then just so I can train early Monday morning and Monday night, and then get me back to Texas to catch my flight to Vegas on Tuesday, because I had to be in Vegas on Tuesday for photo shoots and things like that. Like all the media stuff and stuff like that from Tuesday to Thursday. So that alone was like, I got the call on like a Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is when I left back to Kansas. So that's already 4 days gone out of my 13 or 5. And then, so I get to train one day with Kraus on Monday. And then I got to be back or I got to go to Vegas Tuesday and take 3 more days out of my camp, out of my weight cut. So that's about, 7 to 8 days right there gone out of a 13-day notice, because UFC did not have like a workout area for us during the whole media part and stuff. So it was just quarantining. You can't leave your room. So it was actually very challenging for me to calculate things. You know what I mean? Like, you got a water load. If you're planning on, cutting weight, you definitely need to get like a certain amount of water in before a certain time. So I kind of lost that opportunity due to, everything I just explained with the flights and all that stuff. So it was very, very challenging, and it was new. I've never experienced that before in my life.
Yeah, hopefully that you have a comfortable car when you're making those trips, or at least something with a little bit of,
yeah.
a little bit of leg room, perhaps, because it's not, you're not a small middleweight. They made a big deal of your height last night. They were saying, like, if you enter the UFC right now, you're tied for being like the tallest middleweight. And in terms of like your physique, I would say that you're better built muscularly than Izzy is, who's the other, obviously the other middleweight that's 6'4". So that must have been really intense to like have to cut that much weight, on such short notice. But it feels like that's kind of when you're trying to make the UFC, like that's something that pops up a lot, and you see a lot of fighters make their UFC debut because folks are falling out either due to COVID or due to injury. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great that you could make it, man. And you fought well. You fought a really good opponent, in my opinion, Shante Davis, and not just got the win, but got the finish. Round 2 finish. Looked pretty dominant, like in all aspects. Obviously, the ground game, jiu-jitsu is where you shine the most, I would say. What were your feelings after? I heard like Dana White say something in his press conference about that he was gonna, bring you in for like looking for a fight with, or Dana White looking for a fight like next month, and if you win that, like you definitely, land a UFC contract. But obviously, it's pretty unusual that you fight really good competition, you get the finish, on Dana White Contender Series, and you don't get the contract. How'd you feel? Dana alluded that you were like a little upset afterward.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily upset. I was a little bummed out. I mean, it's not necessarily that I'm not getting a contract. It's more so that everyone got one but me, So, but in other regards, like it ain't about them. It's about me, to me. You know what I mean? So when Dana could look me in my eyes and say, I like you and I actually want to develop you the right way, and not just feed you to the wolves. I want to give you a chance to actually be successful. Like those are words that came out of his mouth. That to me, I have nothing to be upset about. It's actually amazing to, almost build a connection with someone who you really didn't even get to, talk to very much. It just seems like, I guess, even though all these other guys got contracts and stuff, but they didn't even look that great. You know what I mean? A lot of them were going in wars and, being really sloppy, getting super tired fast. Like I think practically every fight except for the 2 Hispanic guys who went the whole way. Like every one of them were tired at the end of the first round, and then not Mallet either. So I don't know. I'm just gonna take the opportunity and let him get me, just let him prepare me for what he knows I need to be prepared for. Cause it's not like I know, so I'm going to take this win, like he says, and get paid and then get ready for that big show.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I know that you're just like sort of reeling off like this win and travel and whatnot, but how much time does it look like you're going to have to prepare, and sort of, do you change anything? Obviously you'll have a little bit more time to cut weight, and you might learn who your opponent is a little sooner than 13 days maybe, but do you how do you approach this training camp that's starting kind of today?
Well, right now I'm actually not allowed to train. I got to take a few days off. I signed with the UFC that I'll take a few days off. So although it seems like I have about 4 or 5 weeks, I actually only have about 3 or 2.5, depending on when I get cleared to start training again. So, man, I don't change anything. I'm at the gym right now, actually. I just got to keep training. I'm gonna go and see Kraus, try and spend more than a day or 2 out there, maybe try and get a whole week with them. And just keep myself, just work on the things that I'm not doing the best at, which is like starting early. I'm not a fast starter to fights. I don't feel like I fill people out, but I just feel like I kind of try and get the range and see what they're doing, which I need to stop. So definitely got some things I need to work on, but I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to go and smash whoever they put in front of me.
Love it, man. I mean, you've done it 6 times in a row. You've finished your opponent. So that's
7 times before that. I just freaking took a loss in the middle.
Yeah. Seven times the charm to jump into the UFC, right? Cool, man. So like I mentioned your height, and I'm always just interested because, in different divisions, you find, that there's really like stocky wrestlers. There's really, long guys that pose all different problems. And you mentioned sort of feeling your opponent out. And I feel like that would be something that would be more difficult if you know, were shorter and we're constantly trying to close a range gap, you know, you go on more of the aggressive? How much does like the height help you? I'm sure that you've never really fought somebody taller than you in the middleweight division, right?
Yeah, I mean, I fought Ryan Leininger. He was 4-1 at the time, and I was 2-1. And he was a taller guy and a younger guy than me, who was on a bigger streak than I was at the time. So yeah, I mean, I've fought people bigger than me and taller than me. Shoot, this guy I just fought, he was bigger than I was. He came in at weight, but I'm pretty sure he weighed more than me going into the octagon for sure. Yeah, no, I've never really focused so much on what that guy looks like, and it's just more so like what I can get out of them, what I can see that they're lacking, and then go for that.
Do you think the length plays a factor, like on the ground, you know, in jiu-jitsu? Like, does that help when you're you know, trying to throw, like, I guess, arm bars, triangles, like obviously like trying to like lock in hooks? Like, does that help? Or I don't know.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that when I'm in positions like referee, or even just like behind a guy who's maybe like on the side of their hip, and you're kind of like riding them with your hips, I feel like I can get my leg over and around them, and then I can be on their back without having to have two hooks. You know what I mean? I can close a half back, it's what we call it, and I can be pretty secure on a guy just because of how much like of his body that I cover with my legs. So yeah, I definitely try and utilize my length. I try and look for a lot of like trapping arms and, you know, reaching around. Like if their back's in the cage, I'll try and reach all the way around their back and get like a wrist ride, things like that. And that, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do that if I was short and stocky, for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's something I've noticed a lot with tall fighters. So you mentioned you're at the gym now. I assume that's the same gym that was shown on Dana White Contender Series last
Yeah.
night. Cool, man. Were you able to, I mean, I'm sure you were after, but were you, like, when you were in the back or when you kind of came out of your fight, were you able to see like any of the footage of them kind of going crazy, or did that have to wait until you sort of jumped on social media later?
The only footage I initially saw was like the footage I saw when I was getting that interview with Laura. And then I got to see how wild it was. But I really, yeah, I mean, immediately after the fight, they took us to the back, and then I had my phone. So I was kind of like, you know, trying to respond to stuff, but things were just crazy in my phone. But I ended up talking to my son, and he was still at the party, and things were super duper loud for him. And I got to kind of see things, and it was wild, dude. I didn't expect to have that big of a turnout. And then it was amazing just because of how great everybody was supporting. Like we were charging people to get in, and, you know, no big deal at all. And it was just nothing but love in the air. It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. Like when you entered the cage on the broadcast, like they showed you know, a quick like zoom in on your gym, and it was like, it was electric. Like you know, you don't typically see that with fighters in the Contender Series. So I thought that was really cool. I wanted to make sure like you got to see like how excited everybody was for you.
Yeah, no, I haven't went back and watched the fight yet, unfortunately. I don't have ESPN on my phone. But I'm here at the gym. I was planning on watching it after our interview with my coach. I'm watching it for the first time, but dude, it's still like I said before, it's like super surreal. Like I just can't even really fathom like what I did to earn the support I have. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate it, and it's amazing. I just don't understand like like
Oh, I mean, you keep finishing people, you know, you keep finishing people, and it's exciting to watch, you know.
yeah.
Cool, so in the middleweight division, like if we're just, I know like they always say like never, you know, count your, you know, chickens before they hatch or whatever, but when you look at sort of like who's in the UFC right now, you know, who do you think is like an exciting matchup, or who's somebody like that you really get excited to watch when it comes to the middleweight division? I know probably the champ, and it's kind of, you know, right now it appears to be kind of a race to second place with all the contenders, but you know, who really like do you, I guess, either idolize or really want to fight, you know, or maybe both, in the UFC for middleweights?
Obviously Izzy, but I think I could beat Izzy just because I know I could probably take him down. I just don't. I feel like I don't take people down the way other people take people down. I find other ways of doing it. But I really like his next match. Whitaker. He actually was one of my favorite fighters going into this, and then also like I originally was a 170er. I was welterweight for first couple fights, maybe 3 or 4 fights. I had a championship at welterweight, so that's actually where I wanted to be, and I wanted to like learn my body and be able to do that. But I wasn't making very much money early on. Like once I wasn't in Bellator anymore, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't worth it to me to struggle that hard for, you know, a couple $100 or whatever. So that's kind of why. And then plus, like my last couple of fights have all been short notices. So that's also kind of why we're doing 185. But I mean, I'll probably end up being here and getting comfortable in the 85 division. So I definitely would be interested in punching Kevin Holland in his mouth. Robert Whitaker would be a fun fight, but those are all, you know, the highest echelon of people right now. Mainly though,
because you don't like him, or what's that all about?
No, I don't have any respect for that guy. No, it's he's cool. You know, people love him. People love what he does, but I don't. So I would love to fight him for sure one day. And he just lost, so that could become possible soon too. So yeah. We'll see. They're about to run it back, so I guess he didn't lose. It was a no contest, but
yeah, that was a really weird fight and stoppage. But
yeah, I mean, I know his pre-fight workout too. Like he was doing some warm-ups with his coach, and then his head, like he kind of got like his head, like it wasn't comfortable. He was doing like you know how wrestlers use their forehead and they use their head for different controls, and like I saw he tried to do that, and his head was like he had to like turn it to the side just because he couldn't maintain that pressure with the, you know, just like with your neck to keep your head straight and use your forehead. You know, he kind of like used the side of his head. I don't know if that makes much sense, but I noticed that right before he ended up getting knocked out with a headbutt. And I was like, well, there's an obvious, you know, thing you're lacking right there. You need to wrestle, dude.
Yeah. And that's interesting because like that's something that like a casual fan or even somebody who watches, you know, MMA a lot, like I don't think we see that, you know. It's really something that only a fighter would be able to like identify.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, I noticed that with him. And if you can't wrestle, man, you know, he's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're no stranger to the ground. So be an interesting matchup. And he's tall too. He's a tall middleweight. So.
Yeah, I've trained with him a few times. I've sparred with him before. And well, before I was ever here. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I'd love for that to happen.
Oh man. Yeah, that would be a really exciting fight to watch. So a couple like just fun questions for you. Just because as I was getting introduced to you, I like the first thing, of course, is the mustache. I go, that's a badass mustache.
Thank you.
Have you always had it like your whole life, or is it something that you're trying now? And it's got to be kind of a trademark for you. So I'm sure you're planning on keeping it, right?
Yeah, I actually got it. Maybe I started it back maybe like 2018 when I first went pro. I think right after I lost to Jordan Newman. I had a good friend. He's still a good friend, but his wife creates these natural products at home. She created like a beard balm and a mustache wax that they wanted me to start using called the Immaculate Beard. They're amazing people. If you're looking for products like that, they sell those things online very cheap. She makes them pretty much like in a kitchen, but it's like her shop, you know, great stuff. But yeah, and then I wasn't able to connect my mustache, and then my beard is all like, you know, I have like gaps in it and stuff. So I was just like wanting to do something creative with myself, you know, and I have the hair. So I just gave it a try. I started twisting it, and then it started looking cool. And then I have my barbershop, Modern Image, they always keep me fresh. So he'll like shape me up, and then he'll twist it up for me, you know, and it'll just stick like that for days. So I don't even have to do stuff to it anymore. Like I haven't done anything to it right now, and it's not bad.
Oh, pretty curly.
So I'm just enjoying it. And obviously I enjoy that other people enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I feel like a man that doesn't really, you know, think about his, you know what I mean? Like his self in that way. it's not necessarily the most hygienic. You definitely want to kind of like, women are always smelling so nice, but like think about how long they spend in the restroom, like doing all this stuff, and us guys, we're like in and out. Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I always tell my girlfriend, like, if she says she's gonna need like 45 minutes to get ready, I'm like, okay, like when you're on like, whatever you're doing last, like for the last 5 minutes, let me know and I'll start getting ready.
I'll start getting ready. Exactly.
Yeah, same thing, man. Yeah. So okay, so you got killer mustache, killer hair too. Why the nickname Ugly Man? Like I don't get it. Where did that come from?
That came from when I was in college. Just me and some buddies came up with I guess a clique, or just like us, called Ugly Man Gang, and it was just pretty much Ugly Man before your name. Like we were going out to parties and we were all on the football team, so just like whenever, like we weren't necessarily popular, but we were just invited to a lot of stuff and like always going out. So anytime we would go places, like the people on our campus, because I went to Arkansas Tech University, they would just know, like, they would just know us for, being Ugly Man Gang. Like you see them, you're just probably going to fire them up, or, just like grill them, call them ugly, tell them their outfit looks ugly, even though they might look good, and
Sure.
It was just that clicked, and it was just more than a visual thing. It was just like more like, it's like the identity you didn't want, but like the culture gave it to you. Like anytime I see my friends, like I'll walk up, they'll be like, ugly boy, like boy, and just start firing you up. And that's just culture. Like I don't even know how, what word to put on it, but that's just how we were brought up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some people have like nicknames that to me like just are very like unoriginal. Other people have ones that have like these crazy stories behind it. But yours like stood out to me. I was like, that's it's very I don't know. You talk about like being like positive and like trying to like build up self-esteem and whatnot. It's like calling yourself Ugly Man. Like that's it was an interesting one. So I had to get the story on that.
Yeah, it's just that. And then like I didn't plan this, but now like obviously like how you're reacting to it, like most people react to it that way, like Ugly Man, like why do you call yourself that? And then I'm just, all I can say is like, well, thank you. I'm not like even fishing for a compliment. I'm just saying like that's just my name. And then when I first got to the UFC, also a sweet woman works for the UFC. Most people call her mom. She's amazing. Her name is Heidi. And Heidi was asking me my nickname, and I was like, oh, it's Ugly Man Joe. And she did that. What? So what is it going to be? Joseph Ugly Man Joe Holmes? I was like, no, just Ugly Man Joe. She's like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, trust me, Heidi, I've had to do this back and forth with several people for them to understand that this is my name. It's not Joseph Ugly Man Joe Holmes just because that's how you do everybody else's name. This is my name. And she's like, oh, well, that wasn't the UFC. And I was like, you asked me my name and I'm letting you know. It doesn't matter who it is. That's my name,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely original. People don't know how to react to it yet. But hey, that's going to work for me.
Makes sense when you tell the story, but let the record state that Ugly Man goes in the front, not the middle, right?
Ugly Man is it.
Ugly Man is it. Okay. All right. Cool, man. Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you, in your next appearance, and then get that UFC contract and start fighting some of the people that you were talking about in the middleweight division. I think that's a really good time for the middleweight division. I think that, a lot of the contenders that, are in that top 10 right now, Izzy's kind of walked through. It's almost like, John Jones in like the light heavyweight division where like, there was inevitable for new contenders to rise because, all the old contenders were, sort of disproven. So a lot of those exciting fights, came towards the end of his reign in the middleweight division. I think it's probably similar for Izzy where, he's walked through a bunch of people, Vittori and Whitaker and I don't know if Darren Till will even get up there again, but I'm really excited to see what you can do, man. And is there anything like that you want people to know about you, or any like message you want to send to middleweights before your next fight?
I don't know who they're gonna have accept this fight, but Dana White said himself they're going to do the matchmaking. So you know, hopefully they find someone who I can, you know, prove that I'm supposed to be in the UFC. I mean, Cody Brundage got moved up to the UFC and he was supposed to fight this guy. So, you know, obviously they felt this guy was a ready opponent to test your skills. So for me to beat him, and that wasn't proof enough, you know, I'm just going to get out there and smoke him in November in Denver for Fury FC, and then get my contract. You know, I'm not really in a hurry necessarily to get to the UFC. It's just that now the call had came, you know, and I rose to the occasion. So now I'm just trying to get what I deserve. But for my last message, I'm super duper grateful for Iridium Sports Management Agency. You guys have been beyond amazing to me. And I never thought I would be part of a team like this. So you guys are amazing. My coaches, James Krause and Professor, appreciate you guys for being there for me. And yeah, just excited to keep going, man.
Awesome. All the best to you, man. Everybody, Mr. Joseph Holmes.
Thanks a lot, Kelly. Appreciate your time, bro.
Thanks.